Today we're taking a look at the MRI liquid helium fill process on a GES3 magnet. Normally you fill these on the side through the port, but unfortunately this has a chunk of ice in it, so we have to do a top fill on this one. This is rare for an S3, but not uncommon for an LCC magnet or the newer style magnets. Now that being said, the liquid helium fill process does begin about 24 hours prior to the start of the liquid helium fill itself. And really what we're doing is trying to get that magnet pressure as low as possible, ideally under 1 psi, so that once we go ahead and sting that magnet, we don't have to sting at a high pressure. We could be right around 2.5 or maybe 3.5 psi at most. So first thing you're going to notice is we're always maintaining control of pressure on the dewar itself. So we have it at about 3 psi, 3.5 psi, and the magnet should ideally be under 1 psi when we sting. So we always want to maintain that difference of about 1 psi. You never want to go below that. You never want to be pushing too fast either. So 1 to 2 psi difference tends to be that golden area. Essentially what that means is we're pushing at about 10 to 20 liters per minute. It's a pretty decent rate, and you have to make sure to maintain control of your pressures, including your magnet pressure, dewar pressure, and make sure that there's no air in your lines at any point, things of that nature. So right here, we're communicating back and forth constantly, just making sure that he's got pressure regulated on his end, and I'm always taking a look at the magnet pressure gauge just to make sure there's not that spike as soon as I go ahead and sting this magnet. Right now I'm unscrewing the cap and I'm going to begin to purge. I really want to draw close attention to this purge process, this initial purge. So what we're looking for is a plume, a nice strong flame looking plume. And if you see, the plume actually gets sucked back into the line and then it comes out a second time. If you kind of rush this process, you'll end up putting air into the magnet and immediately quench your magnet. So you really have to be patient with the process and make sure you have a nice strong jet looking plume. It's hard to see on video, but when it's in front of you, you really see the difference, and you feel the difference in velocity of the liquid and gas coming out. So that's something to be careful with. Right now, we go ahead and take the cap off, and immediately we see an explosion of pressure here. And ultimately what that is outgassing of that liquid helium. Visibility can get low really fast. You really have to be precise with this process and make sure that you get the small little 3/4 inch stinger into the pipe. But once you sting it, not a sit down and relax type of scenario. Unfortunately, you have to constantly be monitoring the lines, make sure everything's tight, make sure nothing's frosted over, and most importantly, make sure your magnet doesn't quench. Like I alluded to before, if your lines go soft, if your dewar overpressures, multiple scenarios can lead to a quench, but really you have to be monitoring all levels. Primary goal there is to fill the magnet, so you always want to be monitoring the liquid helium meters in the back. So we'll go and we'll check that about once every 90 seconds and just make sure we're consistently filling. And really this is why you require 2 people, because it's just constant monitoring. And this process is about 20-25 minutes. I don't know if you saw, but I just checked the vent line there on the side also. You always want to make sure that vent line is completely open. And that prevents the pressure from rising during this process, which is inevitable. We start ideally under 1 psi in the magnet pressure, and it'll climb to about 3.5 psi throughout the process. That's why you have to constantly monitor and adjust your dewar pressure. So right now we have it at 3. We might kick it up to 4 during the next dewar, but ultimately, yeah, it's not an easy job. And this is one of the older videos, as you can see, with the S3 magnet, but I think it's a great example of the process and kind of the difficulties faced on the job there. If you appreciate content like this, don't forget to hit the like button and make sure to subscribe. Thank you for your support.